Let's talk about a sound that shows up everywhere in English, but wears many different disguises to try to trick you. Okay, not really trick you, but it is tricky. The sound is ks, or the KS sound, and you'll find it in words like success, books, box, and extra. And as you can see, it's spelled many different ways, even though it's the same sound. We're going to break down the spellings later on in this lesson, but first, let's talk about why this sound is important for clear, confident speech. This sound, like all the other consonant sounds in English, adds clarity to your speech. Without clarity, you are not easily understood, and this is when communication can break down. And that's definitely something we want to avoid. KS or X is also a consonant cluster. Consonant cluster is just a term for two or more consonants put together, so right in a row. And when consonants are right beside each other, they're really difficult to pronounce. So this can definitely be challenging for many speakers, particularly ESL or L2 speakers, because consonant clusters are not a part of every language. Many languages don't use them at all. So if you're an ESL or L2 speaker, when you go to use your spoken English, the tendency is to delete one or more sounds of the consonant cluster. At best, you're going to lose clarity. We talked about that. At worst, this can change a word into a completely different word. And that's something we also want to avoid. We never want to mistakenly use a word that we didn't mean to use. So that's why it's important for L2 speakers, but honestly, native or L1 speakers also tend to rush through this sound, delete or omit part of it. I make this mistake as well, so this is something that we can all work to improve. We're going to start with X, spelled as CC. You can see what I mean by looking at the example words. This is the easiest situation for this sound because the K and the S sound are broken up between two syllables. So all you have to do is make sure that you clearly pronounce the K at the end of the first syllable and the S at the beginning of the second syllable. Let's try that together. It's going to sound weird, and this isn't the way I want you to sound in a real conversation, but it's going to help you understand what you need to do later on. So just repeat after me. I know it feels weird. Success. Accent. Vaccine. Nice. That felt weird. Now keep what you've done. Don't lose any of the sounds. Don't lose the K. Don't lose the S. Let's take it slowly, but blend the two sounds together. Success. Accent. Vaccine. Nice. Now keep all that. Let's speed it up. Let's practice at a conversational pace. Here we go. Success. Accent. Vaccine. Very nice. This context also has some helpful pronunciation rules. The letter combination CC, so there's two letters together, CC, can be pronounced in a number of ways. Here are some tips to help you recognize when to use each pronunciation. The letters CC are pronounced as X when followed by the letters E or I. Examples of that would include success, accent, vaccine. Those are the words we just practiced. Although you will run into some exceptions. Flaccid is an exception. You see the two letters, the two C's together in the middle of the word, but those two C's are not pronounced KS, they're pronounced as an S, flaccid. But if the letters CC are followed by any other letter, so not followed by E, not followed by I, if the CC is followed by any other letter, the CC is pronounced as a K sound, or the K. Examples of this would include accrue, occur, broccoli. You can hear that hard K sound in there. It's not a KS, it's just a K. Many exceptions of the spelling of this double C occur in loan words. Loan words are words that English has stolen from other languages. English does this a lot. But when we steal words from Italian and they're spelled with a double C, that double C retains the Italian pronunciation and they are pronounced in English with a ch or a ch sound. So words like cappuccino or fettuccine, the double C is pronounced ch. So those are just some guidelines to help you decide how to pronounce the letters double C. You don't have to memorize those. They're just good to know. Now, let's move on to the most logical spelling of x, which is KS. X is x. This one's easy, so hang on to what you did with those previous words where we broke it down between the two syllables. We're doing the same thing here. It's exactly the same. It just feels more difficult because it's in the same syllable and it's at the end of a word. But it's the same k and s blended together as x. So let's try it. Books. Picks. Forks. Exactly. This one is super important, this KS at the ends of words. You can see in these examples that the KS is giving us our plural. It's the difference between the singular book and the plural books. If you are an L2 or ESL speaker and you delete, as many ESL or L2 speakers do, many of you will delete the S in this KS combination. If you do that, it sounds like you're making a grammar mistake when you're really not. It sounds like you're using the singular version when you meant to use the plural version. And I've heard this with lots of my students. They'll talk about, I bought 2 books. And the problem is not up here. They know to use the plural. The problem's here because they're not used to pronouncing the K and the S together. So they say, I bought 2 books. It sounds like a grammar mistake. It's not. It's really a pronunciation mistake. So go for that S. If English is not your first language, make sure you're pronouncing both parts of the KS sound, particularly in plurals like books, picks, forks. There are lots of others, but make sure you're pronouncing both sounds. Really important here. Now let's practice x, spelled as X. This is exactly the same sound. It's just represented by the letter X. So keep doing what you've been doing. Pronounce both sounds. Let's practice a few together. Box. Oxygen. Relax. Notice that the KS sound is always crisp. X, x, x. No matter where it shows up in the word, it has that crisp feeling. And that's exactly what we want. One other thing I think we should talk about is that this sound really does feel different when it's at the end versus when it's in the middle. So as you're practicing, you might think box. Oh, that's really easy. But when I go to say oxygen, it's hard to get that K in there. And I want to say oxygen instead of oxygen. It's okay if this sound feels different, maybe more difficult, maybe easier, based on where it is in a word or sentence and what's around it. Totally normal. You will master every context, every situation with practice. So just keep practicing. Okay, the last context on our X sound list is the prefix X. Now, X is not always pronounced with a KS. There's a rule for this. When the prefix X is followed by a consonant sound, we use that same X sound again. So it's pronounced X with a KS. That's what you see in these examples. Accept, explain, exterior. Nice. But if you have a vowel after that EX prefix, so if there's a EX and then a vowel instead of a consonant, The KS turns into a GZ and we pronounce it eggs. We add what's called voicing, eggs. Our vocal cords vibrate. X, no vibration. Eggs, you feel vibration. So examples of that rule, the prefix X followed by a vowel, that would happen in words like example, exist, exotic. Now, we're not going to practice more of those words in this video. There are other lessons where we practice it, but I do think it's helpful to know the rule. So EX followed by a consonant is X. EX followed by a vowel is eggs. With that in mind, let's just practice these words one more time. We're practicing the X sound. We want both the K and the S. We shouldn't feel voicing on it. But don't worry, that's not the point of this exercise. It's just good to know, okay? Accept, explain, exterior. Very good. Let's put some of these words into short sentences and see how the X sound feels in context. So these are going to be conversational phrases. Imitate, shadow, repeat what I'm saying. Everything's going to be at a conversational pace. This is the best practice for your speech. So here we go. It was a successful hoax. Did you say 16 or 60? I love your accent. She got her flu vaccine last week. I borrowed a few books from the library. He always picks the most random movies to watch. We're out of clean forks again. Can you explain that one more time? The exterior of the building was completely redesigned. Can you hand me that box on the shelf? We need more oxygen tanks for the lab. Let's just relax and binge watch some Netflix tonight. That sounds good. Yeah. And that is everything you need to know about X. But before we wrap up this lesson, I want to leave you with one fun fact, and here it is. Did you know that the words accept and accept are pronounced exactly the same way? They are. And it's because the first syllable is unstressed or rushed or reduced. Because it's rushed or reduced, the vowel is so short that we can't hear a difference between accept and accept. You'll only know which word a person means to use based on the context of the sentence or phrase. I share this with you because I don't want you to try to make these words sound different. They shouldn't sound different. They sound exactly the same. But just to make sure that you trust me on this, let's practice with a few sentences. So accept, accept, go for the second syllable. Make that syllable louder, longer, make the vowel a little bit wavier. The first syllable, just pretend like the vowel almost doesn't exist. Accept. Accept. That's how both words are pronounced. So first, I want you to listen to me saying the sentences. Don't worry about repeating. We'll do that in a moment. Just listen and notice that accept and accept sound exactly the same. Even when I pause, even when I emphasize, they sound exactly the same. So just listen. Can you accept that there are many exceptions to these rules? That's number one. Here's another one. Every student will accept the new policy, except those who are excluded for specific reasons. Third example, I can accept any suggestions for improvement except those that involve changing the format. All right, let's practice together. I will model the sentence. You can shadow and repeat after me. These are longer sentences, so we'll do them twice. First time, we'll break it down so you can repeat chunks after me, then we'll do the entire sentence, okay? So just listen and repeat. Can you accept that there are many exceptions to these rules? Now, all together. Can you accept that there are many exceptions to these rules? Good. Next example. Every student will accept the new policy, except those who are excluded for specific reasons. Good. Let's put it together. Every student will accept the new policy except those who are excluded for specific reasons. Good. That was a mouthful. That was difficult. All right, last one. I can accept any suggestions for improvement except those that involve changing the format. I can accept any suggestions for improvement except those that involve changing the format. I just want to point out one little thing. When I did that sentence broken down, I said, when I did except those that involve changing the format, that was so difficult for me. You may have noticed, and if you didn't, go back and listen to, just go back like 10 seconds or so to hear what I did. I started to stumble over my words. I recovered by those that involve changing the format. And this is a really good thing to do. When speech gets difficult, when there are difficult combinations of consonants, right? We're working on consonant clusters right now. Make your hang on your vowel, make your vowel longer. That will give you the time to recover. It could regroup. It could be a way for your thought to regroup your thoughts, to recover from your tongue being in the wrong place, from just stumbling over the word. But it's a nice way, rather than stopping, rather than saying, rather than breaking up your train of thought, just keep that vowel going until you recover mentally and physically within the muscles of speech to get back on track. I noticed that I did it there. That was not meant to be a part of this lesson, but it is a helpful tip that I give to my private students. So feel that. Let's take that sentence one more time. I want you to do exactly what I do. I'm going to linger on, because that's hard. I'm going to lengthen the vowel on any. I'm going to lengthen the vowel on those, just to give me time in this difficult sentence to recover, right? So this is what it looks like. I can accept any suggestions for improvement except those that involve changing the format. That was so much easier. Try it that way. Linger on any and those, just to give yourself time to catch up. Try it once. Hopefully that felt a little better. And that's a trick you can use anytime you're speaking. I find it particularly helpful when I'm speaking in this isn't a formal situation, but I am on camera, so it kind of is, or giving presentations, or any situation where the stakes are high and it matters. The sound x may be spelled several different ways, but with some practice, you'll know exactly what to do when the sound comes up. So keep listening for it, keep practicing, keep making sure that you're pronouncing both parts of the consonant cluster, and with time, you'll see a big improvement in the clarity of your speech.